The champagne flute shattered against the marble floor of the Kennedy Center, shards scattering like broken promises under the crystal chandeliers. "I love you," London whispered, her voice cutting through the orchestral swell like a blade. Her hazel eyes locked on Eleanor's across the crowded gala. In that frozen heartbeat, the senator's wife, poised, untouchable, touched her lips as if tasting the words for the first time, her world fracturing in silence. Washington, pulsed with the relentless rhythm of power plays and whispered scandals. But on that crisp autumn evening in 2025, London Harper had decided she was done playing by the rules. 28. She was a rising star in the cutthroat world of political journalism, her bylines in The Atlantic already turning heads in the Beltway. Sharp-witted, unapologetically queer, and forged in the fires of Atlanta's civil rights marches her parents had dragged her to as a kid, London had clawed her way to the Capitol with nothing but grit and a laptop scarred from too many all-nighters. She covered the Senate like a hawk, her pieces dissecting policy with the precision of a surgeon. But it was Senator Richard Caldwell's office that had become her personal obsession. Not for the man himself, dry as a martini, all bluster and backroom deals, but for his wife, Eleanor. Eleanor Caldwell was 45, the epitome of old money grace wrapped in New England frost. Blonde hair streaked with silver that she wore in a flawless bob, blue eyes that could freeze a filibuster or melt a donor's resolve, and a smile that graced Vogue spreads for charity galas. She'd been the perfect political spouse for 2 decades, hosting fundraisers at their Georgetown brownstone, chairing committees on women's health, her laughter a carefully calibrated accessory to Richard's ambitions. But London saw the cracks, the way Eleanor's fingers tightened around her pearls when Richard droned on about tariffs, the fleeting shadows in her gaze during photo ops. It started innocently enough, an interview for a profile on congressional spouses. London had pressed, probing beyond the platitudes, and Eleanor's responses had unraveled like silk threads, revealing a woman starved for something real. That interview turned into coffees at dimly lit cafes off Pennsylvania Avenue, then late-night texts about books, Eleanor devouring Audre Lorde while pretending to skim policy briefs.
London fell first.
Hard and reckless, her heart a drumbeat against the cage of her ribs. She knew the stakes. Eleanor was straight-passing, married to a man eyeing the presidency, mother to 2 college kids who idolized their dad's family values facade. But love, London reasoned in the witching hours, wasn't a poll to be rigged. It was a firebomb. The gala was for the National Symphony Orchestra, black ties and ball gowns swirling under the golden lights. London had snagged an invite through a contact, her emerald dress a bold slash against the sea of neutrals. She spotted Eleanor across the foyer, radiant in navy silk, Richard's hand possessive on her elbow as he glad-handed donors. Their eyes met, and London felt the pull like gravity, inexorable. She crossed the room, heart hammering, flute in hand. The orchestra struck up a violin solo, mournful and soaring, and in that swell, she closed the distance. "I can't do this anymore," London said, voice low but fierce, close enough to smell Eleanor's Chanel No. 5 mingled with the faint citrus of her own anxiety sweat. The shatter of glass was accidental, her hand trembling as she set the flute down too hard, but it drew eyes, a ripple of murmurs. Richard turned, brow furrowing. But London didn't care. "Every time I see you, it's like I'm drowning in what we could be. I love you, Eleanor. Not as a story, not as a friend. I love you like I've been waiting my whole life for this." Eleanor's face drained of color. Her pearls a noose at her throat.
Londyn är schijfist.
Glancing at Richard, who was already excusing himself from a cluster of lobbyists. Not here. Not like this. But her hand soft, trembling, brushed London's wrist. A spark that said more than denial ever could. Richard appeared like a storm cloud, clapping a meaty hand on Eleanor's shoulder. Everything all right? Darling, Miss Harper. Isn't it? The Atlantic's firebrand. His smile was all teeth, eyes scanning for threats. Just a clumsy moment. Senator, Londyn replied, forcing a grin that didn't reach her eyes. Champagne's stronger than it looks. He chuckled. But the suspicion lingered as he steered Eleanor toward the dance floor. Londyn watched them go. Her pulse a war drum. She'd lit the fuse. Now, the explosion. The days blurred into a fever dream of avoidance and ache. Eleanor ghosted her. Texts unread. Calls diverted to voicemail. Londyn threw herself into work, pounding out a scathing op-ed on Senate gridlock. But every keystroke echoed with Eleanor's voice, her laugh like wind chimes in a hurricane. It was a week later, during a rare snow-dusted morning in D.C., that the reply came, a single text at 3 a.m. The Jefferson Memorial. Dawn. Come alone. Londyn arrived as the sky bled pink, her boots crunching virgin snow along the tidal basin. The memorial loomed like a marble dream, columns stark against the cherry blossom's skeletal arms, too early for blooms, but the promise hung in the air. Eleanor was there, bundled in a cashmere coat, cheeks flushed from the cold or something deeper. No makeup, no armor, just raw, unguarded beauty. I should hate you, Eleanor said, voice cracking as she stepped close, breath fogging between them. You could have ruined everything. Richard's already paranoid, thinks you're digging for dirt on his offshore accounts.
I'm not, Londyn whispered,
closing the gap until their coats brushed. I meant every word. And I know you feel it too. The way you look at me when he's not watching. Like I'm oxygen. Eleanor's laugh was bitter, tears glistening. Feel it?
Londyn.
I've buried feelings deeper than that since I was 22. Marrying a man who saw me as a campaign prop. I thought that's what love was, endurance. But you make me remember who I was before the spotlight. A painter in Providence, sketching nudes in lofts, kissing girls under street lamps without a care. Then don't bury it, Londyn urged, her gloved hand cupping Eleanor's cheek, thumb tracing the elegant line of her jaw. We can steal moments. Secret. Yet. But ours. The kiss was inevitable. A collision of pent-up storm. Eleanor's lips were soft, tasting of salt and peppermint tea. Her hands fisting in Londyn's scarf as if anchoring to sanity. They broke apart gasping. Foreheads pressed. The world narrowing to the heat between them. This is madness, Eleanor murmured. But she didn't pull away. It began that way, stolen fragments stitched into something sacred. Mornings in Eleanor's studio apartment in Foggy Bottom, a pied-à-terre Richard never visited, where canvases leaned against walls like forgotten confessions. Eleanor painted again, fierce abstracts in crimson and gold, inspired by the curve of Londyn's hip, the arch of her back under moonlight filtering through blackout curtains. Londyn would arrive with takeout from Ben's chili bowl, half-smoke steaming, and they'd eat cross-legged on the floor, knees touching, talking until the city stirred. You're dangerous, Eleanor would say, tracing London's collarbone with a paint-smeared finger. Her voice husky from lovemaking. Like jazz, unpredictable. Soul deep. And you're my muse, London replied, pulling her close. Their bodies a tangle of limbs and whispered vows. In those hours, the world outside, the Senate hearings, the tabloid vultures faded. London shared stories of her grandmother, a freedom rider who'd taught her that love was rebellion. Eleanor confessed the hollow ache of her marriage. The way Richard's touch felt like obligation. Not fire. But secrets in D.C. were currency. And theirs was a vault waiting to crack. Richard's re-election loomed, polls tightening against a progressive challenger who wielded authenticity like a weapon. He leaned harder on Eleanor for optics, joint interviews, arm candy appearances at the Willard. London watched from afar, her jealousy a serpent coiling in her gut. One night, after a fundraiser at the Hay Adams, Eleanor slipped away, meeting London in a shadowed alley off 16th Street. They tumbled into the back seat of London's beat-up Honda, windows fogging, hands frantic. "I saw you with him," London gasped, nipping at Eleanor's earlobe, her fingers deft under silk. Smiling like it meant something. "It doesn't," Eleanor panted, arching into her touch. "It's theater. You're the only real thing." Their rhythm built like a crescendo, urgent and unyielding, until release shattered them both. Eleanor's cry muffled against London's shoulder, a sound that haunted London's dreams. Afterward, tangled and spent, Eleanor murmured, "I want more than this. Weekends away. Maybe. Tell the kids first, they're old enough." London's heart soared, but doubt flickered. And Richard? Eleanor's silence was a chasm. The betrayal came swift as a subpoena. It was mid-February. Valentine's Day lost to a blizzard that blanketed the capital in white silence. London was at her DuPont Circle walk-up, scrolling through leaks on her phone, when the knock came sharp, insistent. She opened the door to Eleanor's aid, a mousy 20-something named Clara, clutching an envelope. "Mrs. Caldwell asked me to deliver this," Clara said, eyes averted, cheeks pink. She said, "It's better this way." Inside was a letter, Eleanor's elegant script unraveling like a noose.
My dearest London.
"I've replayed our dawn at the Jefferson 1,000 times. Your fire thawing the ice I've carried for years. You woke something in me I thought long dead, a hunger for truth, for touch that doesn't bargain. But truth has teeth. Richard knows. Not the details. Thank God. But enough, the late nights. The glow I can't hide. He's offered counseling. A renewal retreat in Aspen. The kids. They've noticed my distance. The way I flinch at their father's jokes. If I leave now, I lose them, their trust, their future. Scandals devour families like ours. This isn't goodbye forever, but survival. Burn this. No. In the quiet hours, you're the love I never dared dream. Eleanor.
London is knees buckled.
The paper crumpling in her fist as sobs tore free raw. Ugly. The kind that hollowed you out. Betrayal wasn't the knife. It was the twist. The realization that Eleanor's love, fierce as it burned, bowed to the gravity of legacy. She didn't call. Didn't rage. Instead, she channeled it into ink, a blistering essay for The New Yorker. Anonymized but laced with venom, exposing the performative piety of political marriages. It went viral. Hashtags erupting like fireworks, wives of power. Queer in the closet. Stirring whispers in Senate cloakrooms. Richard noticed. A week later, during a hearing on LGBTQ+ rights that London covered from the press gallery, he locked eyes with her mid-speech, his words on traditional values landing like punches. Eleanor was there. Third row. Her gaze fixed on her lap. Pearls a shield. Their eyes met across the chamber, London's defiant, Eleanor's shattered. And in that stare, a lifetime compressed, desire, regret, the ache of what-ifs. The climax brewed like thunder over the Potomac. March brought dogwoods in bloom, pink against the gray. And with them, Richard's announcement. A run for the White House. Eleanor at his side in a rose garden presser. Her smile a masterpiece of restraint. London couldn't breathe through it. The TV screen a portal to hell. She drove to Georgetown that night. Uninvited. Pounding on the brownstone door until a security detail loomed. But Eleanor appeared. Slipping out the side gate. Coat thrown over pajamas. Go, she pleaded. Voice breaking. Please.
No, London snarled.
Rain starting to spit from the sky. First drops of a deluge. You think you can ghost me again? After everything. Eleanor's face crumpled. I tried. I tried to end it clean. But I can't stop loving you. It's eating me alive. They argued in the downpour. Words lashing like whips. London accusing her of cowardice. Eleanor of selfishness. You have choices.
London shouted.
Divorce him. Come out, be free. Free. Eleanor laughed. Hysterical. Water streaming down her face. For what? Tabloids calling me the dyke who tanked a dynasty? My daughter disowning me? I fought for women's rights from the shadows. Now you want me to burn it all for a fairy tale. The thunder cracked. Lightning forking the sky. And London grabbed her, pulling her close. This isn't a tale. It's us. Their kiss was war, teeth and tears. Hands clutching wet fabric. Bodies slamming against the wrought iron fence. Eleanor yielded, moaning into her mouth. The rain a baptism of fury and forgiveness. They stumbled to the shadowed arbor. Passion igniting like dry tinder. Clothes shedding in sodden heaps. Under the blooming branches, they reclaimed each other, fingers exploring with desperate reverence. Gasps lost to the storm. Climax a shared thunder that left them trembling. Entwined. But dawn brought clarity's cruel light. Wrapped in Eleanor's coat,
London whispered.
We can't keep doing this. It's poison. Eleanor nodded. Tears fresh. I know. But ending it. It's dying a little. They parted with a final kiss. Soft as snowfall.
And London walked away.
The city awakening around her shattered heart. Spring unfurled in D.C. Like a reluctant confession. The National Mall alive with tourists snapping selfies amid the tulips. Oblivious to the undercurrents of ambition and ache. London threw herself into the churn. Interviews with whistleblowers. Late nights at the Atlantic office overlooking the White House. Her bylines sharper than ever. But sleep was a thief. Stealing hours with dreams of Eleanor's skin. Her scent of lavender and regret. The essay had catapulted her career. Offers poured in from NPR. Vanity Fair. Colleagues slapped her back, calling her the voice of a generation, but she felt like a ghost haunting her own life. Eleanor, meanwhile, armored up. Publicly, she was the senator's rock, co-hosting a gala for domestic violence survivors. Her speech on resilience drawing standing ovations. Privately, she unraveled. Canvases piling in the pied a terre. Half-finished portraits of a faceless woman with hazel eyes. Her daughter, Amelia, home from Yale for spring break, noticed the hollows under her eyes. Mom, you okay? You seem distant. Just the campaign grind.
Sweetie, Eleanor lied.
Stirring risotto with mechanical precision. But at night, alone in the master suite while Richard snored through ambient dreams, she'd scroll old texts from London, photos of sunsets over Rock Creek Park, memes about bad poetry. Delete. Repeat. The pull was magnetic, a tide she couldn't outrun. Richard's suspicions festered. He'd hired a PI after the gala slip, discreet. Ex-FBI. The kind who tailed mistresses for a living. Reports landed on his desk. Coffees. The Honda and Foggy Bottom. A blurry shot of two women embracing by the tidal basin. No names. But the pieces fit. Eleanor's got a confidant, the PI grunted over scotch at the Metropolitan Club. Journalist type. Close. Richard's face hardened. Not with rage but calculation. Scandal could sink him. Me Too had teeth. And a queer affair? The evangelicals would bolt. He confronted her over breakfast in their sunlit kitchen. The Post folded beside his bran flakes. Who's Harper to you? Elle? Really? Eleanor's fork paused midair. Heart-slamming. A reporter. Richard. You know that. He leaned in. Voice low. Don't insult me. I've seen the looks. The excuses. If it's that, we fix it. Therapy. A sabbatical. But we don't blow up 20 years for some phase. It's not a phase, she snapped. Then bit her lip. Vulnerability was a luxury she couldn't afford. It's nothing. Drop it. But he didn't. He amped the pressure. Family dinners with donors. A surprise trip to their Virginia vineyard, where he made love to her with mechanical fervor. Whispering. We're unbreakable. You and me. Eleanor faked moans. Her mind on London's laugh. And wept in the shower after. London's resolve cracked first. A tip came in. An anonymous source alleging Richard's ties to a shady pack funneling dark money to anti-LGBTQ+ bills. It was dynamite. The kind that could topple empires. She chased it to a dive bar in Adams Morgan, nursing a whiskey sour when her phone buzzed. Block number. The Mayflower Hotel. Room 512. 10 p.m. Heart in her throat. She went. The lobby gleamed with old-world opulence, crystal sconces, Persian rugs, but the elevator ride was purgatory. Eleanor opened the door in a robe. Hair tousled. Eyes red-rimmed. No words, she pulled London inside. Kissing her like a condemned woman. Hands roaming with frantic need. They fell onto the king bed. A whirlwind of silk and skin, Eleanor's mouth tracing London's collarbone. Eliciting gasps that echoed off the wallpapered walls. I need you, Eleanor breathed. Fingers delving lower. Coaxing waves of pleasure that arched London's back. Tell me I'm not crazy.
You're not London Monde.
Flipping them. Her lips worshipping the curve of Eleanor's breast. Tongue flicking until cries spilled free. Their union was symphony and storm, bodies sinking in a rhythm honed by longing. Climaxes crashing like waves on Jouster. Leaving them slick and sated. Limbs entwined. Pillow talk turned treacherous. Richard knows, Eleanor confessed, tracing London's tattoo, a rainbow phoenix on her ribcage. Not all, but enough. He's handling it.
London stiffened.
Handling? Like damage control. Eleanor's silence was damning. He wants to protect the family. The campaign. Fuck the campaign, London snarled. Sitting up. Sheets pooling. What about us? There is no us in his world. Or mine. Anymore. Tears welled. I told Amelia bits about feeling trapped. She hugged me. Said she'd love me no matter what. But Richard. He's threatening to cut her off from the trust if I leave. The betrayal deepened. A fresh wound.
London dressed.
Fury masking hurt. So I'm the dirty secret you fucking forget? Collateral in your perfect life. No. Eleanor clutched her arm. You're everything. But I can't destroy them. You already have, London whispered. Door clicking shut behind her. The leak hit like a grenade. London's story dropped on a Tuesday. Senator Caldwell's hypocrisy. Dark money fuels anti-queer agenda, with docs that painted him as a wolf in sheep's clothing. The Hill erupted, hearings called. Donors fleeing. Richard's poll numbers cratering. He blamed Eleanor in a screaming match that shook the brownstone's rafters. That bitch Harper, she's your pet project. Isn't she? Sabotaging me. Eleanor denied it. But the seed took root. Desperate. He escalated, a smear campaign. Anonymous tips to Politico hinting London fabricated sources for clicks. Her editor stood by her. But the vitriol online was a mob, trolls doxing her. Calling her a home-wrecking dyke.
London fought back.
But isolation crept in. Friends rallied, her queer book club in Shaw pouring wine and wisdom, but the ache for Eleanor gnawed. A month into the siege. As cherry blossoms peaked, Eleanor reached out. Rock Creek Park. The planetarium lot. Midnight. London almost didn't go. But love? Treacherous fool. 1. Eleanor waited by the carillon. Moonlight silvering her hair. A picnic basket at her feet, cheese. Figs. A bottle of Sancerre. Truce, she said softly. They walked the path. Hands brushing. Words tentative. Eleanor spoke of therapy. Solo sessions where she unpacked decades of repression. I'm filing for separation. Quietly. The kids know. Amelia's furious at him.
Tess.
Processing. But they're with me.
London is bref caught.
And the campaign? Richard's pivoting to a think tank gig. No more pretending. Eleanor stopped by the creek. Turning to face her. I chose you. If you'll have me. The kiss was renewal, gentle at first. Then deepening with the promise of tomorrows. They made love on a blanket under stars. Unhurried. Exploratory. Eleanor's fingers learning London's curves anew. Mouths mapping freckles and scars. Pleasure building in layers until it crested soft and shattering. But joy was fragile in DC's glare. Richard's retaliation peaked. A leaked audio, grainy, but damning, of Eleanor and London's alley tryst. Moans twisted into scandal fodder. The Daily Beast splashed it. Senator's wife and lesbian affair. Campaign implodes? The internet ignited support from queer icons. Bile from conservatives. Eleanor holed up. Phones off. London faced paparazzi at her door. Flashes blinding. The climax shattered on a stormy May Eve. Richard summoned them both to his McLean estate, neutral ground. He claimed. For closure. London arrived armored in leather jacket and resolve, Eleanor pale in pearls. The study reeked of cigars and defeat, Richard pacing like a caged bear. "You've gutted me," he growled at London. "My legacy for what? Pussy and headlines." "Classy," London shot back. "Your legacy was built on lies." Including to her. He turned to Eleanor. Eyes pleading. "Elle. 20 years. The vineyard. The kids' graduations. We can spin this discreet divorce. You keep the houses." Eleanor's voice was steel. "No more spinning. I stayed for them. Not you. And now, I'm free." Thunder rumbled as Richard lunged, not at her, but the decanter, shattering it against the mantel. Glass flew. Eleanor flinched, and London stepped between, fists clenched. "Touch her, and I'll bury you deeper than any story." Security hauled him back, but the damage was psychic. Eleanor collapsed into London's arms, sobs racking her. They fled into the tempest, Honda hydroplaning toward the capital, wipers slashing rain. At the steps, under lightning's strobe, they clung, Eleanor's face buried in London's neck, whispers of "I choose you" amid the roar. Summer scorched D.C. into a haze of heat waves and reckoning, the Potomac a sluggish mirror reflecting the city's fractured soul. The scandal's aftershocks rippled outward. Richard retreated to a Virginia ranch, issuing a mea culpa presser that rang hollow. His support for Eleanor's personal journey, a punchline on SNL. Eleanor filed papers. The divorce a quiet earthquake. Assets split. Custody shared. But the emotional fault lines deeper. She moved to the Pied Terre full-time. Walls blooming with her art. Bold strokes capturing London's profile. The arch of a shared glance.
London.
Battle-scarred but buoyant. Landed a fellowship at the Wilson Center. Her work shifting to queer policy advocacy. The harassment ebbed. Legal threats from GLAAD shut down the worst trolls, but scars lingered. Trust fractured. Nights when paranoia whispered of hidden cameras. Yet Eleanor was balm. Mornings tangled in 400 thread count sheets. Coffee brewed strong. Laughter rediscovering its edge. They built tentatively. Weekends in Rehoboth Beach. Eleanor's hand in London's as they strolled the boardwalk. Stealing kisses amid cotton candy vendors. Amelia visited. Her initial wariness thawing over vegan tacos. "You're cooler than Dad's speeches." London, while Theo, quiet one, bonded over Eleanor's canvases, sketching beside her. "This family's weird now," he said one evening. Charcoal smudged on his cheek. "But kinda awesome." Eleanor's reinvention accelerated. She launched a foundation for LGBTQ+ elders. Her TED Talk, Closets in the Capitol, going viral. Blue eyes fierce on stage. "I was the senator's wife," she'd say. Voice steady. "But I was always more." "We all are." Applause thundered. London watched from the wings. Chest swelling with pride and that fierce, protective love. But conflict simmered beneath the idol. Richard, licking wounds, played dirty. Custody motions laced with moral unfitness. Whispers to allies painting Eleanor as unstable. One hearing loomed in July. Alexandria courthouse air-conditioned to Arctic chill.
London waited outside,
Pacing linoleum. When Eleanor emerged victorious, but drained. "He dropped the worst claims," she said, collapsing into London's embrace. "But he looked at me like I'd betrayed God." "You survived him," London murmured, kissing her temple. "That's the win." That night, Over Thai takeout on the balcony, Eleanor confessed deeper wounds. I betrayed you first. Didn't I? The letter. The silence. I was scared of losing everything. London set down her pad. CW. Hazel eyes soft. You did lose it. But we gained each other. That's the math. Their lovemaking was affirmation. Slow dances of touch, London's lips on Eleanor's inner thigh. Drawing sighs like sonnets, Eleanor's nails raking London's back. Urging her higher until ecstasy bloomed mutual. Bodies a vessel for healing. Autumn gilded the leaves. And with it, a new betrayal not from Richard, but within. Eleanor's foundation partnered with a major donor, Victoria Hale, a Silicon Valley widow in her 50s, all sharp suits and sharper philanthropy. Vic was charming, dinners at Blue Duck Tavern, toasts to disrupting the patriarchy, and Eleanor leaned in, dazzled by the validation. She's like me. But bolder, Eleanor gushed to London. No apologies. Jealousy crept. Insidious. London saw the late texts. The networking trips to New York. One October Eve. After Eleanor's return from a gala, Vic's arm LinkedIn photos splashed online. London confronted her in the kitchen. Wine glass trembling. Who is she to you?
London demanded.
Voice raw. Eleanor blinked. Caught. A colleague. Ally. Got.
London.
You're paranoid. Paranoid. London laughed bitterly. I watched my lover choose safety over soul once. Don't make me do it again. The fight escalated. Accusations flying. Eleanor's flirtation, a crutch for reinvention. London's insecurity a chain. You think I want her? Eleanor shouted. After everything? Vic straight. Married to her work, it's power. Not passion. But it's escape, London countered. Tears hot. From the mess we made, silence fell. Heavy as fog. Eleanor reached out. But London stepped back. I need space. To breathe without wondering. She left for Atlanta. Crashing with her parents, soul food Sundays. Marches with old flames faded to friends. Her mom, silver coiffed and sage, pulled her aside after church. Baby, love ain't a battlefield. It's a garden, tends if you water it, withers if you salt the earth. London journaled furiously, pages of doubt, desire, the terror of half-lives. Weeks blurred. Eleanor's texts were lifelines. Miss your laugh. Painted your eyes today. No pressure. Just presence. The climax crested on All Souls Day. Back in D.C. For a panel. London arrived to the Kennedy Center, Irony's Echo, to find Eleanor waiting in the foyer. Bouquet of dogwood blossoms in hand. I canceled the donor trip, she said. Voice quivering. Vic was a mirror. Not a map. She saw my glow yours and envied it. But I don't want mirrors. I want you. London's resolve cracked. I'm terrified of losing myself in this. Then let's build together, Eleanor pleaded. Stepping close. No secrets. Full light. The kiss was absolution, tender. Tasting of forgiveness and fall air. They retreated to the pied a terra. Shedding layers literal and not. Hands reverent. Exploring as if anew. Pleasure a bridge over chasms. Eleanor's mouth on London's core. Tongue a vow. London's fingers curling inside. Drawing forth cries of release that mingled with rain pattering windows. Winter whispered in. Snow dusting the dome. They cohabitated now, London's books mingling with Eleanor's paints, mornings of shared yoga and fresh air podcasts. Richard faded to footnotes. A settlement. Awkward holidays for the kids' sake. Amelia came out as bi over Thanksgiving turkey. Hugging them both. Theo sketched wedding portraits. Half joking. The humanistic close came on New Year's Eve 2026. Atop the old post office tower, fireworks bursting over monuments, a queer choir singing Auld Lang Syne below. Eleanor, in silver sequins, turned to London, hazel eyes reflecting sparks. We almost lost this.
London smiled.
Hand on her waist. But we fought for it. That's the story worth telling. As the clock struck, they kissed amid cheers, two women, remade by Love's Forge, stepping into a year unbound. Not perfect, not painless, but profoundly, humanly theirs. In America's heart, amid power's ruins, they'd carved a quiet revolution, love as defiance, as grace, as home.